Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. We're in the Nauset Meeting Room of Town Hall. It is exactly 5 p.m. On our agenda is the Zoom login information as well as a phone number and webinar ID you might use if you'd like to join us. We'd welcome that. Our agenda has the first item of business is to call to order, which I will do by welcoming Select Board members around the table: Andrew Shaw Reed, Michael Herman, myself, your chair, Kevin Galligan. Also from Town Manager's Office, our Town Manager, Kim Newman, Assistant Town Manager, Mark Reel. And welcome everyone in the audience. I see Mark Matheson is joining us by Zoom. Welcome, Mark.
Good afternoon.
And Mark, just as you're coming in, I checked with Media Operations Peggy, so you and anyone else on Zoom will get bumped off when we move to go into executive session at the end of the meeting. But Mark, use the same link to come back in. Peggy will bring
Okay.
you in just in executive session.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, so we're called to order. Michael, would you like to read the preamble, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We acknowledge with respect that we are inhabiting the traditional lands of the Wampanoag peoples who have always existed here. We value their roles as past, present, and future guardians of this land.
Thank you very much. Any announcements from board members or staff?
Mr. Chair, I have
Please.
one. Lifetime Learning's new schedule is out and posted on the library website, and I just want to thank everybody who put the schedule together and is teaching. It's a robust set of courses for these winter months.
Great. Anything else? I do have one, and it was included in the packet, and the consultants asked us, as part of the Nauset Public School Efficiency and Regionalization Planning initiative that we have underway, just to include the update in the packet. It gives you a wealth of knowledge in terms of what the purpose is, where the funding's coming from, a few frequently asked questions, but do stay tuned for more coming. The game plan is to have a few more meetings with some data, and hopefully by late spring, we will have some results to share. So study is underway. All right, leaving.
Great recap.
Yeah, I mean, they've been great to work with, and I have to say too, working with Kim and all of our other town designees, it's been good. It really has been. It's a great
That's
group.
great. Really
Yeah.
cooperative and like really
Yep.
honestly thoughtful and thorough.
I would just say, we're getting our money's worth out of the consultant, because we keep asking for more, and they're not saying no. So, moving on to public comment. Anyone here
Kevin?
wish to
Kev-
speak? Oh, Mark,
Kevin?
please, come on in.
Yeah, sorry, I was just.
You're on mute, Mark.
In terms of,
I'm not hearing you. This has happened a couple of times. It happened to me the other day, even though I know
on
it
one
looks
second,
like
it
you're
might be a
off mute,
problem
but
on
for some
my-
reason, Mark, like I said, it happened to me. We're not hearing you.
Mark, if you can hear me, sometimes when you're plugged into power, the audio doesn't work. That happens on mine. So you might, if
hang on
you're
a
plugged
second
in,
here.
try that.
It does happen.
Can you guys
Yeah,
hear
I
me?
know, Nick. It does seem bizarre because
Mine does that. My
Can
LG,
you-
if it's plugged in,
Can you hear me now?
it won't.
cannot hear you.
Can you hear me in the room?
Yes.
Sorry.
One moment, Mark. Sorry, I'm fixing things.
Okay.
It's like the reverse audio. It's picking up the audio in the room on the screen, but not.
Oh, that's so funny, it's printing his, what he's saying, but it's not.
Is it printing what he's saying?
No.
No, it's picking up what we are
What we're
saying.
saying, yeah.
It's a problem on my end. I'm not sure what it is. It's just gonna take some troubleshooting.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's not you, Mark.
It's not you, Mark. Peggy just popped in, said the problem is on her end, so,
Okay.
Stopped working, so I'm just gonna try and get them back up.
okay, great.
I I can say the thing that you would say. For the first time ever, the problem isn't you.
All right, Mark, I'm making a note. We'll come back to announcements when
Okay,
we
yep.
get you working. So, public comment, anyone here in the room wish to speak for public comment? And I know Peggy is working on another problem, so I'm assuming there's no one on by Zoom that wishes to come in for
No
public
hands
comment?
raised.
Oh, that's right, they wouldn't be heard.
All right, apologies for that. We can be flexible, given the light schedule we've got ahead. If somebody does want to chime in, we can adjust. All right, moving on to annual town meeting warrant article discussion. This is our first, I believe. Mark Reel, you got this one?
It's your first very brief discussion, I believe, on some of the articles that have been submitted beyond your typical consent calendar articles, your budget article, your capital improvement plan, and your capital budget articles. It's not too many right now, but I did ask staff if they had kind of ancillary financial requests to have those submitted to you. And so this is what we have so far. We do know there's some others that are out there, but are not necessarily financial. So you'll see those start to come in over the next few weeks. The warrant closes on March 2nd. You have in your memo a list of dates that outline the planned times for review and conversation. We can obviously talk about adding additional workshop meetings as needed, if they're needed. And what I really wanted to hear from the board this evening was any articles that are on your mind that you would like to see added to the list so that we can have those conversations going forward.
So one thing I think, Mark, would be helpful, only because of the fine print, could you just, and there's only, what, 4 or 5 of them, could you just hit the highlights, like
Plug in and bring it up.
what's,
Yeah.
and as you're going through it, I think some folks did outline the funding sources. That would be helpful to know if we're anticipating funds are already available in stabilization funds, or what pot of money are these coming from?
Some of them are move and some of them are
Exactly.
raise and appropriate.
Right.
Well, I would say that those are suggestions from the person that's submitting, so those can change, and we need to review exactly where those funds will be coming from. Let me just get this up here. I'm just going to use my other one. Internet is barely here.
Slow. It's been slow.
There you go.
It's like barely any internet bars,
Yeah.
so it's taking some time.
Pay the cable bill.
I can tell you there's 150,000 requested for the conservation fund. There is a number requested for
fun.
the water. Here we go. We have it up here.
Great.
Funding water quality projects at 215,000. That includes, this is what happens when working off a spreadsheet.
That's okay.
Funds for Namscake Marsh monitoring at 30,000. Cedar Pond water quality phase 2, 30,000. Baker Pond management plan, 80,000. Water quality consulting funding, 10,000. There's 41,000 here for Cedar Pond monitoring, and Lonnie's Pond monitoring at 24,000. Total of 215.
So, only because it came up at the chairs meeting on the Baker Pond. That is the article that is proposing alum treatment. Yep. So Marine Freshwater Quality Committee has noted they are seeking funding for a preemptive alum treatment as a short-term management step to provide additional time to consider wastewater treatment options. Funding request is 80,000. So this is the kind of the first time we're, seeing this in this form, although we did hear about it coming up, I think, in the fall. So I know I had asked member of the Marine Freshwater Quality where we are with our neighbors in Brewster relative to sharing and permits and things like that. So I think they're working on that. So, but
Yeah, that's been as their liaison, we've been talking about that for a year, so. They have, some of them have reached out to Brewster and gone to some meetings, but I think we might need some help from staff to make sure that we're getting Brewster on board with this. We share that pond, and I think we know the philosophy of anything that you do, whether it's to your own property or public hearings, the abutters are always, included, and the biggest abutter to this is Brewster.
right.
And I think also, one thing, I did go to, they also held a workshop on this topic. We invited people from Brewster and also the Friends of Baker's Pond. And one thing I can note is they all voluntarily agreed to reduce or not use pesticides and fertilizers, which I know is something we've had discussions about when we previously approved alum for other water bodies. So they have been proactive in that, which I think is great. So.
Mr. Chair, can I, for
Please.
information, the ownership of that pond and management are state and town jointly?
I believe so.
To get this done, we would not only need to talk to neighbors, but,
Yeah, it's a great pond, so it's owned
Yeah.
by the state.
Yeah.
But the state has approved alum as a treatment before, so
Right.
that's,
no, but just to make us aware that it's not a simple process to get this done.
Right.
It will require time.
how do you want to do it, Mr. Chair? I have a few questions.
Please.
I don't know if we want to go up by
Article?
article, or how do you want to do it, Mark? Or-
It's up to you. I mean, there's only 6 here, so.
Want to start with
You
the
want to
first
start
one?
with, let's go to number 1 here. And I have it up here in a different format, so it's easier to see.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Amazing. Mark Matheson, would you mind testing your audio again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
can hear you
Awesome.
now.
Hey, sorry about that, folks. We're back up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peggy.
The first one that we have on the list is transfer water service connection funds. This is in your consent calendar. It's
Yeah, I guess
35,000.
The question I had on this one is, we seem to have this every year. Can this go into the budget, or why would it be out of free cash when it's something that is not a one-time? It seems to be reoccurring every year.
Does.
It's not from free cash. You have to transfer
Did
the
I-
money out
From
of this,
their reserve.
from their reserve
Yep,
Okay.
out to use it.
correct.
Oh, so you're not taking it from free cash, it's out of.
It's out of water
Yeah,
reserve.
the service connection reserve
Reserve.
fund.
But
Go- and-
again, if it's something we're doing every year, is
You
it?
have to move the money. You can't charge expenditures to a reserve account.
I wouldn't say charge the reserve account, I would just say we put it in our budget.
No, it is in the budget, but the money that you need to
Moving it.
pay it has to be physically moved out of that account, which has to be done in this way.
Just like any money that might plow into a stabilization fund,
You have to vote to move it.
need town meeting.
No, I got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of what,
Unless you put it in the budget and you didn't use the stabilization account to pay this, right?
If you wanted to use taxation.
Okay, that's all I'm, it seemed, okay.
Well, it also mentions in the explanation, it's a fund that was established in 1962
Yeah.
specifically for using these funds that go into the service connection reserve. So it's not, it doesn't appear to be part of the operating budget, but more focused on the specifics of the water.
How much is in that fund? I mean, I don't, is it since 1962?
well, every month, as service connections are made,
Yeah.
the fund builds up, and then this kind of pulls it out And
Like a
it,
revolving fund.
exactly, as Lynn is saying from
Is
the
it-
crowd, it's very much like a revolving fund. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a,
This is a process, not a.
it's a limited amount that's in there, basically.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like there's millions of dollars in that account, and we're only taking 35.
Right.
I'm just wondering, because when I hear account's been around since 1962, it makes me think like, okay.
I mean,
That was just a question on that one.
Okay.
If anyone asks, given we created these enterprise funds, you go back to 62, this truly was the first, quote, type of enterprise fund, even though it wasn't called one back then.
But the enterprise funds were relatively recent, right?
Hey, that's the
And
point.
10 years ago.
That's
but
the point.
This was,
Yeah.
okay.
That'd be a
Article-
good one to follow up, what does Sue typically see, for a balance in that fund from year to year? So,
The second article, I'm not calling them Article 1 or 2 because it's not.
these are requests.
It's way too early for that. Is a submission from the Conservation Commission to fund the Conservation Fund at $125,000. This is to fund a variety of projects that they have. And I know John has submitted some documentation with that.
Nice.
And so,
And I guess this one too is something that I would think that if we're constantly taking care of our stuff by looking after the lands that the Conservation Commission has, is there I assume there's a formula per acre, like what would they need for the amount of acres they have to fund them? Or do they need to just keep coming and asking and refilling this kitty and then going back? Because the last time we did this, I think was fall town meeting, and it was 85,000. And then I know we're looking for level funding, and now it's 125. And they also are going to other sources. So I'm just trying to figure out a way is, we know our conservation lands need maintenance. Is that not accounted for anywhere other than here? Or do we get to a point where we know what we need to maintain? I mean, because I know they've done, I've been working
They're
with,
different projects at different times.
no, those are the capital project, but just the maintenance.
But Kent's Point has a lot of erosion control.
No, but again, what I'm talking about is the maintenance of our projects. They've done a Herculean job, and John Janelle does with the DPW. And they've been able to maintain all of these things, but when we were going through their budgets, they got $23,000 in the conservation budget.
So-
Is that included in to maintain?
as you
the
can
lands?
mention, as you can see mentioned in this memo, it does say that the Conservation Fund provides flexible funding for maintenance and modest capital needs that cannot be met through operating budgets or CPC resources. The fund supports engineering, materials, contracted services, trail and habitat improvements, site repairs, and other stewardship needs, and may also receive public contributions and be used to leverage grant opportunities.
And Lynn, you were going to add?
So, when I was chair of the Finance Committee, and Elaine and Nick are both here, and they were there too, but we used to encourage them to do this because they weren't getting enough money through their regular budget. And they work with the DPW to help deal with maintaining the conservation lands and projects. But there's just not enough money. And we would encourage them to do this, to ask for these funds in these separate warrant articles with particular projects in mind, so that they could be used for dealing with invasives. There's just not enough. There's acres and acres, and Kevin, maybe through OCT you have an idea of what the number of the acres of the conservation land is, but there's not enough to be maintaining the acreage, dealing with invasives, dealing with all of the land, dealing with any trails that there might be on the town-owned lands and so on. So this is why they have these articles, separate articles, to fund a number of specific projects each year.
No, I do understand
Yeah.
that, but I'm talking about maintenance of our properties, not funding.
And there's no budget in the
projects.
town to
Should there-
maintain.
Right, but I guess the,
So-
Conservation's never had a serious budget.
no, I
No,
understand.
they don't have a budget.
This is
So-
materials that are getting paid for.
How about if we do this? Because I I think this is all good, but we do have one other budget and capital meeting coming up. It might be good to have John Janelle here to address this. I mean, I think, you know, Michael's asking legitimate, you know, questions that, you know, I'm looking at Mark Reel, you're just reading what's been submitted.
Right.
I think the expertise comes from our subject matter expert.
Yeah.
So let's get John in and, you know, answer your questions, so.
Well, it isn't, it's kind of a philosophy question of a town.
But he-
Like, do we want to put this in the, part of the maintenance in the budget, or do we want to have it as this separate fund and have to go after every year? I don't know, maybe that's just for the new projects, but the general maintenance of taking care of our stuff, I think I think we should have covered in our budget.
And maybe to explain to us, because this does allow for fundraising, it's got advantages. There may be a good reason behind the logic of why we don't put it in the budget. Because from our seat, it looks like there should be a placeholder number every year for maintenance.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to put words in his mouth, but
Right.
I think John's memo is indicating
Yeah.
this gives them
Flexibility.
more flexibility, but again, let's invite him next time we
Good idea.
go through it. That'd be
Sure.
great. Thanks.
We have the community preservation program budget, which we'll be
That'll be
discussing
later.
later. There's an article request from Chief Deering on emergency management for communication video conferencing technologies for the Emergency Operations Center. It's a $45,000 funding amount. There's an extra zero in there, but it's 45,000. The article would fund the needed upgrades to the Emergency Operations Center to allow video conferencing during emergency/weather events. The EOC was constructed prior to the regular use of video conferencing, and this would provide that capability. This article would also fund additional emergency management communication tools needed to respond to emergencies.
Nice. Any questions? Good, okay.
We have the water quality programs and monitoring, which we discussed. Is there any more on this one?
Only on this was, any idea on the sources that we'd be talking? 'Cause some of these are regulatory required, we must do. I think
Potentially sewer,
Wastewater
funds,
en-
wastewater funds,
stabilization,
and
yeah,
then other dollars if needed, but
okay.
Yeah, I guess I had some questions on
Please.
this one, like, the Lonnie's Pond, does that come out of sewer? Because that's a direct reduction on the sewer
Should.
cost. I think it
Yeah,
should.
It really should. I think, you know, regulatory required, including NAMSCAKIT.
Yeah, those two
monitoring.
were the ones I thought.
Right, yeah.
And
I think in the past, Mark, we did use wastewater stabilization.
one time we did.
I'm looking at Lynn, who recalls these things in detail.
I'm seeing 1 through 4 is mentioning
Well, and I'm
DEP.
confused too, because this, as laid out here in the blue and white, the dollars are 215,000, but the capital, the CIP, has a dollar amount of 240 and with less detail. So I'm confused as to what is this and different from the one that's in the capital budget and the CIP. Although the very last one is water quality consulting, but it's a very small dollar amount. It's like lunch money. That's not possible to pay the AECom and the Wright Pierce fees. So where are the AECom and the Wright Pierce fees? They're not listed here.
This is separate
So
from
this
what's
is
in the
separate,
CIP.
But,
not-
so what is it that's in the 240 that's in the capital budget
Right.
CIP dollars that, or is this meant to be that with
No.
all this detail?
No, this is not what's in the CIP. It's separate. So
This
the
is a
D-
different,
Right.
this is different money, but
Correct.
our constituents are to get real confused.
Right,
Yeah, because of how we label.
yeah.
Mr. Chair, can I ask one other
Please.
question? I had somebody reach out to me who wanted to advocate for one of these and wanted to know, will we publish a time? I assured her we would. When people want to speak towards these things can to us before things.
Yeah, and often we've had these in separate warrant articles, one by one, instead of all mushed together. And
Right. I would just say to anybody, at least, you know, the style I try to encourage is, you know, come up now. I mean, if anyone's listening now and wants to chime in on these, come in by Zoom, raise your hand, and we'll be welcome. But at the same time, we'll have another budget review session on March 4th. So that's another opportunity. And then when we get to warrant article votes, that's another, right,
Yeah, that's
Right.
where I assured her before that
right,
would be.
yeah.
And in your memo, there's listed dates that highlight the dates that you're going to be speaking about or discussing the warrant articles. So those are obviously the key times for folks to
That's-
come in.
Yeah.
I can pull them up.
Or just
March
maybe
4th is one.
Include them in
They're
packet.
in the memo, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But if we could put them in the packet each week, then that will reassure people about
Right.
when they'll, just as support
And
document.
it's on the town meeting website, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
March 4th, Select Board will review submitted articles. March 18th, review selected articles. We'll have final vote on April 1st. And then,
I don't think there's any meeting between now and the end of March
Right.
that isn't going to be some conversation about the warrant, so.
right,
Right, articles till the
Mm-hmm.
1st, budget till the 18th.
there we go.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I just had a
please.
to continue if I could. We talked about Baker's, the Cedar Pond, I think we need to, I'd love to get into this a little bit more because, you know, being the liaison to Marine and Freshwater for 5 years now, we've been talking about Cedar Pond and testing 41,000 a year. And by the management, we spent over $500,000 on Cedar Pond. And we've done some amazing things as a town, and the cormorants are gone, the stormwater drains have been fixed or repaired, a lot of them, and Phase 1 sewering has been done. And I know we're still testing this 41,000, but I'm not sure quite why. And I know it says it's required, but I'm trying to, but who's requiring it and why?
But don't you want to know if the health, it's like monitoring somebody after they've had cancer. Don't you want to know that
It's
the
nice,
job
it's
is
nice
done?
to know, but when something gets over $500,000 we continue to spend, I think it's time that we ask, when will that end? Or what's the point of this? I mean, again, you know, that's a lot of money.
It is.
And there's no explanation that I've been able to find when this will stop. Will this just go on the next 10 years and there's another? I think we got to kind of have, sooner or later, this is a very important water body. We spent a lot of time and a lot of money. I think we need to have a figure out a game plan.
How about when we're asking John to come back with us on March 4th to cover the maintenance of conservation properties? This fits in his wheelhouse because
This is
it's order
George's.
conditions. What's that?
George's wheelhouse.
Well, but this actually comes through Conservation Commission order conditions.
Okay.
So I think John can address the history of where it came from and
Yeah.
how it might be modified.
Right.
Yeah, like,
That would be
I just saying, all I'm saying is,
Yep.
we need,
Right.
once you spend over $500,000, I think it's time we take a breath and figure out, what do we do going forward? Are we gonna just continue this on autopilot? That's probably not the smartest way to go.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, I can remember I was sitting in Kim's chair during the meeting at Conservation Commission when I was a commissioner. We voted this test of Cedar Pond. This was just supposed to be.
8 years ago.
It was just supposed to be a test of how to control the pen boards, to get back to brackish and maybe the health of the pond. And it wasn't supposed to be
Going.
to infinity.
But we do want all of our water bodies tested for certain things, right?
Yeah,
So
this is a little bit more than-
cyanobacteria. This is a lot
is more than testing.
that. Right,
Look at
so
the dollar amount.
isn't the conversation
Mm-hmm.
about how do we treat and what do we expect from all of our testing?
Mm-hmm.
Once we've reached a certain level of clarity.
So,
I think you make a good point, but, you know, we don't have here Pilgrim or Crystal Lake testing. It's broken out into the thousands of dollars.
this came from an order of conditions.
Right.
It actually had a state superseding order from DEP.
But it may be time to take it down a notch.
So-
That's well before I was here. so-
No, but I think it would be good to visit this with John, because I think there are pros and cons of leaving it alone
Right.
and continue to incur this, or are there alternatives?
I bet they're alternatives.
So,
So we'll have both John and George come because there may be other questions about other pieces of this.
sounds good.
Okay,
And in the packet, just so people know, it did get cut off. So if they're seeing your sheet, it's like the 10,000 isn't there for the water quality consultant funding. And I think that's different. That's for when the volunteers go out and do the testing and what the logistics are of sending the samples to SMAS and all that. That's why it's such a small $10,000. I think that's what, again, I'm not,
Right.
oh, I couldn't see that. Again, yeah, it got cut off on our packet stuff, so.
okay,
That's it
next
for
we
me.
have
That's
the comprehensive plan. Adopting the comprehensive plan.
And I believe we're going to hear about it at an upcoming, I think, in a meeting in March.
Yeah, John, has asked to have a joint meeting with us. I don't know if he's invited us to planning board or planning board's coming here, but he'd like to have a
I think it's our
full
next
review.
Board meeting, I
Yeah.
mean, next planning board meeting.
Next planning board.
Go there.
Okay,
But it's not official yet, right? They had a meeting yesterday, so they were working that stuff out. Which Mark,
more to come on that.
yeah.
So that's it.
That's it.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So we get some follow-up with staff to do?
Were there any articles that the board wanted to add to the list?
What's your pleasure?
Not at this time.
Go ahead, Andrea.
My question is still for a decade, how we're funding wayfinding, but I'm sure George and you guys have figured that out, the new sign, and Amanda, I bet you're all over it. So maybe you'll, I think might be part of your presentation.
We can talk about it.
Great.
Okay,
Is there something we're missing, Mark, that we should be? No?
just-
Okay.
This is like, after this point, we really pick up the pace, so I wanted to make sure if there were articles, board is interested
There are
in.
probably about 5 additional articles that we know about, but that we aren't prepared to talk about at this time.
Right.
That's fair.
Okay.
and Mark Matheson, you're okay at this point, moving on? Good, okay, good. Thanks, everybody. So, Amanda Converse. Town branding presentation. And we had our monthly chairs meeting this morning, so Amanda gave a few of us a little preview, so looking forward to this.
Just a verbal preview.
Yes. And thanks, Amanda, I'll say at the outset, for doing incredibly good work and
I don't even know what that
looking,
is.
no, you've really done an awful lot on this.
Thank you. I don't. It's not coming up.
There you go.
That's. I don't
Your
have.
screen?
It's not my screen. Like it's not. That's not my screen.
That's weird.
Weird.
Yeah.
Probably is your screen.
It's my screen.
I can't see that far.
Is that the,
It's not. So my. It's not showing what I'm seeing on my screen. That's what I'm saying.
That's interesting.
You're gonna have to change the settings on your laptop. I can come in and help if you'd like.
Yes.
Come on, Peggy.
Yes.
I literally just did this like 2 weeks ago.
It's keeping you busy tonight, Peg.
What would we do without tech support, media ops?
Because it's a PDF.
Here she comes.
Isn't it cute that even these the interns that we have, even though they are
Yeah.
off next
Gotta
week for
do,
school vacation week, they've actually asked if they can come to work,
duplicate.
some of them during the
Oh,
week,
wow.
right? I'd say that's pretty telling
is
about whether or not they're
dedication.
enjoying their co-op, right?
Yep.
And they know they're
There we go.
appreciated, they're being used well.
let's see,
That's great.
is it gonna, it's gonna do that?
I see some public servants in the future.
There's at least one in there. And not.
the blood.
No,
Right.
not, and that's not the one I'm thinking of.
Oh.
So. I know. But if they'd never admit it at this age anyway, right?
Life takes turns.
Thank you, guys.
I'm gonna wait until it's up.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Yay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Peggy.
After all that anticipation. So I'm here to talk to you today about the new visual branding system for Orleans, what it is, how it came to be, and why it matters for the town right now. Currently, Orleans has so many different ways that we communicate with the community through signs, websites, flyers, social media, etc. But without a shared system, these messages can sometimes feel fragmented, and a brand system gives us consistency and clarity. And it's really important to say at the outset that this project does not replace the town seal. The seal remains the official and legal and historical symbol of Orleans, and it will be continued to be used on town meeting warrants, proclamations, legal documents, and many other ways. This is just another tool, one that's designed to help us communicate in modern ways with residents, businesses, and visitors. And so my goals today are to walk you through why the town took this step, how the process unfolded, and what we heard from the community, and what the final system looks like. So first, I wanted to kind of back up a bit and talk about what a visual branding system is. And it's important to understand what that actually means. It's not just a new logo. A brand is much bigger than that. It's the total impression that people have when they encounter us. It's how they feel before they even start reading the message. And many people say before your message is read, it's felt. So when someone sees a flyer, a letter, or a sign, they make an instant judgment and questioning themselves, does this look official? Does it feel welcoming? Is it clear? Is it trustworthy? And these feelings come from the design choices we make, so the colors, the fonts, the layouts, the imagery. And a visual branding system organizes those impressions into a consistent set of tools, including like a logo, but also a color palette, typography, graphic elements, templates. And that way, whether it's online, a flyer, or a street sign, it feels connected, professional, and recognizably Orleans. And it matters from a municipality standpoint because consistency builds recognition and trust, and people will know at a glance that it's official town communication. It also projects professionalism to residents, businesses, and viewers or visitors. And it's very common in municipalities. I think a lot of people don't know that because there aren't many or any examples in our region, but it's very common in municipalities across the country. So why it helps us? We have many different departments, committees, and community partners that are communicating important information. And as I said before, without a shared visual system, these efforts can feel disconnected. So a flyer from the Council on Aging might look completely different from a notice from Natural Resources. And what we're trying to do here is to connect that. Because that fragmentation can cause confusion, and sometimes people don't even realize that it's the town putting things on or doing something. So it can mean opportunities are missed, whether that's residents engaging in a program or visitors connecting with what we have to offer. And a unified branding system projects professionalism and trust, as I said, and it makes our communications much more clear. And it also helps us compete and succeed. So a cohesive modern brand supports tourism, strengthens economic development efforts, and builds community pride. So when Orleans presents itself in a consistent, modern, and authentic way, it strengthens how people see us. And that matters for tourism because visitors are much more likely to connect with a place that feels organized, welcoming, and easy to navigate. It matters for economic development because businesses and investors want to locate in a town that looks professional, forward-thinking, and ready to grow, and like they have it together. And it matters for residents because I think when they see their town represented in a way that reflects its character, it builds a stronger sense of community pride, sense of belonging, and place. And this is why communities around the country invest in branding systems. It's because they understand that how you show up visually affects how people feel about living, working, and investing in your town. So, as I mentioned, there are communities across the country that have, I'm not saying these are amazing examples, I'm just saying they're examples. I wouldn't choose it, but just to show you different, different communities have different values, different ways they want to communicate who they are, and this is how a lot of communities across the country have chosen to evolve. I do also, speaking of evolving, want to say that logos and brands, unlike a seal, which is a historic marker and rooted in place, the branding systems can evolve. And as you can see from Gilbert, Arizona, from 1980 to 2020, they definitely evolved their brand. And then I just wanted to say, I was able to kind of grab a bunch of examples from the city of North Ridgeville and how they express their brand throughout town. So it's on their social media, it's on their website, it's on flyers and in signage around town. So I just thought it was good to show the community that other communities are doing this, but also how they express it. So what this branding system was designed to do, when we set out on this project, we wanted to be really clear that it would provide consistency, cohesiveness. We want residents and visitors to recognize our communications instantly. It's about efficiency, so by using templates and a unified system, staff can produce professional materials much more quickly without having to reinvent the wheel every time, and I can definitely attest to that. This is going to make my life a lot easier. It also supports bigger picture goals, so as I said before, it helps us when we're promoting tourism and economic development, and when we're competing, quite frankly, with our neighbors. And we worked really hard to make sure that this branding reflected Orleans' character and values and complements and does not replace the town seal. So why now? This really builds on a planning process that has been going on for years. The 2021 wayfinding plan, for example, identified the need for consistent signage and visual cues for people, not just tourists, but us, locals. And then the 2022 Economic Development Plan specifically called for a unified town brand. And that was from a ton of community input. So I felt like, when I came on board, that was one of the things that I knew that I was going to kind of need to carry forward. We partnered with Superette Studio, a Cape-based design and branding firm, and they understand how to create place-based brands, and they were chosen out of, we had about 35 people respond to the request for proposals. So there was a lot of competition for to do this. And to guide the process, we formed a stakeholder group that included residents, business owners, town staff, and members of the Orleans creative community, and members of many of the boards and committees that we have advising us in the town. And they had 4 meetings where they reviewed 5 different options. And then we also invited the public into the process through workshops, surveys, and other feedback opportunities. I made it very well known to anyone who had questions. I met with people individually, answered their questions, took their input on board. So we had over, I would say, 100 residents and business owners weigh in on the draft directions and final design variations. And so the system we're sharing today is the result of all of that. It's the planning with all of the input that went in before that, the professional expertise, and the community input. So what we heard from the community was they wanted the brand to reflect authenticity, natural beauty, and creativity, balance tradition and progress. They wanted consistency, but for it to be very flexible. We heard repeatedly to respect the town seal, which was never in question. And the system should be true to Orleans and not trendy, which And so that's, the foundation of the brand is authentic, creative, grounded, and welcoming. These are just kind of, teasers, but the primary logo is the more colorful one, but we're calling that Orleans Blue, is one that I anticipate us using a lot as well. And then if you go forward, it's a flexible system, so we have it for many different uses and for many different departments. And the color story, there are some colors that are going to be the primary colors, and then I look at the pink and the orange as these accent colors. But hopefully you're seeing how it's reflected even in the presentation, how we kind of use the color system, just showing how we can incorporate it into these types of presentations as well. So the brand, this is the color palette that Orleans Blue is going to be kind of like the foundation of the brand, and then of course a black and white, and then the other colors. I've already sort of tried to start incorporating this color story into our social media, and it's working out really, really nicely. The typography is also very clean, approachable, and then that script font is, adds a kind of element of interest. That would only be like a complementary kind of, it would never be the header of anything. But, and then these are examples. We have a whole, so the design consultants give us an entire kit that we use, and we can reference. And any designer who comes on board who might, we can use it when we're going for grants. We can use it when someone is, through the wayfinding process, when someone wants to bid on the project, they can show us how they'll incorporate it into it. But so we have I think it's like a 20-page document that has all of this outlined. And so it'll be a nice reference point for staff as well. But you can see how it's used, the logo is used over the image it's like another way of using it. We also have iconography on the right. You can see all of the different icons that we'll be able to use like on the website and in flyers and things like that. We also have the brand voice that we're speaking with. So it's, when we're sharing something from community services, this is how the tone should be and the characteristics. So the packet, which will be up online for anyone to use, they'll be able to see how this comes to life in full. I did also want to mention that we did also have the town seal re-illustrated because, as you can see from the top, these were the various logos or town seals that we were still utilizing, and it was kind of all over the place, and
I would say are using. Everyone is using different seals.
Everybody's using all different seals. Yeah. We'll leave that one for now. But yeah, they show up in different places. We don't know where the color one came from. There's, and I, as somebody who needs digital files in different formats, nobody has that. So we went to a nationally renowned illustrator. They work with our design team, and they re-illustrated it. And now I have the seal. And all of the staff will have the seal in its every electronic form that we would need it. So for people who aren't familiar, it's just different types of files are used for different uses. And we only had random JPEGs of some of these seals. So I personally think it came out beautifully, and it honors the history quite well. So as I said, the town seal will still show up in official legal documents, town meeting warrants, ballots, ceremonial uses. It remains intact and respected. It will show up, as a watermark in different things. I think we'll be able to coordinate them really well together. And we are rolling out, this has been an over a year process. So we will be rolling this out as quickly as I can. First on digital platforms, and then we'll be, like I said, these using templates for print materials, and then of course signage and wayfinding. It will play a role in that, and then ongoing will be developing the templates, training the staff, and making sure that we're using the seal when appropriate. And I will just reiterate these points that this builds recognition and trust. It supports staff efficiency, strengthens local identity, boosts grants, tourism, and development, and it helps Orleans show up clearly. This is not, the brand is a communication tool, and it should feel authentic, and it is very flexible. These are two of the icons that we are using, and they're in the color story. So, and then it's, but it's not a seal replacement. It's not trendy. It's not gimmicky. And so it should never feel forced in this. It should feel very authentic to the community. So I just want to reiterate, we know change raises questions. I'm here to listen. I am happy to talk to anybody who has questions about how this will be showing up. It's not replacing tradition. It's just a tool for clarity. We'll be using templates and guides, and we'll refine it and grow it together.
Nice. Amanda, thanks so much. This is an awful lot of work, and thanks for everybody who contributed to this. I know the work groups, and there was some pushback in some ways, but I think you really have hit, in terms of even your presentation, there was some subtle placement of
Yes.
it. So if people were following along, you can actually start to see it
Yeah.
come to life,
Yeah.
which is kind of exciting.
It is.
And I think if everyone can adopt it, I mean, I'm just looking forward to it, because it does do exactly what you say, where someone comes into the community or someone's lived here, all their life, they're going to start to see, consistency and professionalism, and I like being here. It's just like you said, the feeling comes first.
Yeah.
Okay, and now what's the message? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and I do have to say, I was, when they were putting the brand kit together, it took a little while, and so I hadn't looked at it in like a month or so. And when I opened it, I literally I felt joy, and I smiled, and I just hope that's what we can do for the community throughout, with this.
Can
Please.
I, only because my heart's been in this effort
I know.
since a long time. And one of the things, Amanda, can you go back to the sign to, looks, the one that had how branding systems will be rolled out?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we incorporated it as a cultural district, one of the things that we said is over time, we would build the sense of identity of neighborhoods. So if you knew that you were down by Skaka Beach, or you were in East Orleans, or you were out Nauset Heights, and the beginning of that started with the banners in the
Yeah.
village center. But this, because now we have a font, we have a color palette,
Yes.
it's getting this lineup. We couldn't do anything until the virtual world set the tone for the physical world. So somebody would experience our community as a whole. And the subjective, as you noted at the beginning, the underpinnings of this is our subjective response to art.
Yep.
And so it's a coming together that many of us are really
Yeah,
appreciative
and
of.
I think what's also exciting in terms of wayfinding, it doesn't just have to be signage, right? There's
No,
other ways it can be
right.
expressed, and that's also really exciting to think about with this toolkit that we now have. Because if it was just colors and fonts, you wouldn't be able to do those other elements of, whether it's, we talked at the chairs meeting this morning about crosswalks, and, do we put the wave through the crosswalk and things like that? I think that's, it's exciting to be able to see how this can get expressed.
When Main Street was redone, at the beginning, we shot down having that compass rose.
Compass rose.
Yeah,
Two of
and
them.
embedded, and again, that wayfinding study asks for mosaic patterns or, you know, because Planning Board Debbie Oakes keeps mentioning it, and the Cultural District, the murals that are on the buildings. What is this town going to be known for eventually with our investment in our community? And this is the very first step that we needed to unlock those
Yes.
doors.
Yeah.
So thank you.
A happy camper, I hear.
Yes.
Michael?
Thank you, Amanda, it was excellent. I know I attended a few of your workshops, and I appreciate your being very conscientious with everybody and their input. And I know you have met with a lot of people, and there's definitely passionate input from this town regarding this, which is great.
It is. Yeah.
You know, I've worked with branding for decades, and this is excellent, what you've done here, so thank you.
Thank you.
I would, my one thing I would suggest is, when you're looking at the physical space versus the virtual space, the physical space will constantly need to be updated every couple years. Things need maintenance, things outside fall apart. If you're doing it in the colors, those colors may change and opinions may change, where on digitally you can change things very easily. So I know you'll take that into
Just be
consideration.
very intentional about
Yeah,
what we
exactly.
do.
Yeah,
Yep.
because the last thing we want to sit here, well, now it's 2 years later and we want to redo all
Yeah.
the colors and it's going to cost us an X amount of money, where you would be able to do that. I love how you, what did you call it, revisited the seal? Or
Yeah.
which is a great way to put it. So thank you. It looks great. I think the updated version is wonderful and does respect our authenticity and the tradition of the town. Yeah, the only other thing was the wayfinding, and I know Andrea's been very championing that for many years, and I know that, in my travels, or through my travels, I think I've mentioned to you, I think digital wayfinding is extremely important, and extremely important as an economic development. And it's a way we can take small businesses and put them on maybe the same footing as a large national box store, where we can have our boutiques and the things that make us unique can help be elevated and stand out when people are going on to, whether it's, I'll just use Google Maps, right, to start, and they're searching where to go. It's very hard to travel with anybody these days that isn't using Google Maps or another service. And of course, as you go through it, what pops up when people are traveling through towns or business districts is the big box stores, because they pay for the higher service. And then as you keep going down deeper and deeper, finally other things start popping up. So I hope with our economic development and our wayfinding, we can, it's something we can uniformly help all of our businesses.
Yeah.
That our local businesses, step up a little bit and be noticed a little bit quicker. And that's another way of the wayfinding, because I think, people aren't generally finding their way by walking down streets and waiting for signs. They're, it's almost too late then. They do all their research. A lot of the research I do when I travel it's really through Google Maps already, well before I've been to that destination. So those are just my quick comments, but excellent job. This is not easy, and there's a lot of people's opinions and aesthetics to contend with, so thank you for navigating that so well.
Well, and I appreciated the entire community's input, and it is really nice to be in a community that really cares about how Orleans is presented to the world, so, yeah.
One nitpick thing I did, and maybe it's my eyesight, but when you did the reseal, are the clouds the same in all three of those? I would check that. It
Okay.
looked like some of the clouds were, and maybe it's the way I'm sitting and what I'm viewing, but I don't know.
The color one looks a little different.
It looks different than the clouds.
I think it might just be the way it's colored in.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it is, but the rest of it looks really good, but I don't know. I'm sure it's probably identical.
I think it is. I think what it is that
Maybe it's my angle I'm coming at.
it's that simplified way, and like how the lineage goes through
Yeah.
the cloud, and then when it's colored and it's solid.
And also the one to the right side of that looks very different than the primary. Either way, check it out. Maybe it's me, but thank you.
I'll ask, yeah.
So from someone who's not in the clouds but has a beautiful blue backdrop, Mark Matheson, any comments on branding? You're a Brandon yourself, man, so.
Iconic.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just echo what Michael was saying. I know as I have been traveling through Costa Rica down here, one of the things that I have noticed, because I used to go to Vermont all the time too, and I'd travel up like Route 7 in Vermont towards Burlington, and I would notice that on every side road, there would be little signs indicating where a business was. And sometimes there'd be a signpost that would have 5 or 6 businesses on it, sometimes it'd only be one. And, you know, you'd be driving up that road, and it's kind of a, you know, 2-lane most of the way. By the time you saw that sign, it was too late, you weren't gonna make that turn. Same thing down here in Costa Rica, that there are signs here, there, and everywhere, but by the time you see that sign, it's too late.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to stop and turn around on the crazy roads down here. So I think what, you know, I see people, and I know I am doing it myself, is that I'm looking on the phone with maps on the iPhone, and I know where every place is before I go there.
That's right.
And so I think that it's nice to have, I think, people know the neighborhood they want to be in. They're looking at it on their phone. They know where they want to be. And then have perhaps some visual reference in terms of signage or wayfaring point or whatnot. But I think we'll see that, you know, people are like 90% there already with the phone. And so that's where the concentration needs to be. And then some identifying mark that the business can put out or the town can maybe do. So it really hones in on the precise spot, but it's like, no matter where you go now, whether it's in the States or down here, it's on the phone. I mean, I see everybody all the time looking, it's on the phone, they know where they're going before they get there. And we really need to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place in terms of whether it's Wi-Fi or,
I will say that there are different types of signage in terms of there's signs for driving, signs for walking, you know, there's going to be different styles and heights and all of that stuff for the different kinds of signs. But, you know, when I travel in Europe and I go to a place and then I walk around, and if there's a queue for me to go somewhere to see more businesses, I'll go somewhere to see more businesses. So I do think there's, yes, I do a lot of research before I go, but there's also an element of, you know, showing up to being like, I know this is the area I want to be, but you know, I think Orleans is very much, you know, there's pockets of business districts, and I think we need to do a better job of connecting them, and I think wayfinding can do a good job with that too.
if I could, Mr. Chair,
Please.
like, one other thing that I see here in Costa Rica, a lot of, in the downtowns of the little villages, where they do have walking trails that connect some of these villages that are part of a larger town or city. And I think what you just alluded to, Amanda, is something that we should maybe look at, where someone's in East Orleans, or they're, you know, down by Rock Harbor, or they're in South Orleans, or downtown, whether it's down towards the Cove or up towards West Road, is that there's like a map that points out different places, points out the trails, points out, you know, like little town parks,
Nice.
or, you know, emergency spot, you know, with his, you know, police or first aid or whatever it might be. But, you know, and it's specific to that little village, that little section of the town. So that as you're walking, as you were saying, as you're walking, you know, you see these things and you kind of stop, take a pause, and look and see and familiarize yourself with what's around you. And I think that's very helpful and instructive to people. And we might want to look at something like that within the villages and the districts in Orleans.
Part of my master plan.
No, and also,
Go ahead, Andrea.
part of the sign plan, only because I lived this and breathed it with the planning board, there are two things. One is that we're going to declutter signage. So signs will be removed where, you know, you drive down Main Street and you've got
Different
3 or 4
shapes.
signs coming. Yeah, different shapes, heights, fonts, and from different entities, whether it's the state or the town. So that's one key point, is that the new signage will visually clear our field. The other is, to Mark's point, which is really valuable, Walk Boston. Boston has already adopted this, it came up in the signage plan, but putting a, like, not just go that way if you want to find X, but it's a 5-minute walk, or it's a bike ride. And so remember, we've already committed to multimodal signage that recognizes pedestrian wayfinding as well. So what goes on our signs is really important. So the 5-minute walk, or the 7-minute walk, or the trail is that way, 5 minutes away. Other communities have already adopted it, and I think this is going to give us a huge leg up to show what we value to anybody who's visiting the community.
Kevin, if I could, just one
Yes.
last thing.
Go ahead, Mark.
You know, in light of the discussions that we as a board and the town itself has had through the planning board with our most recently passing the zoning bylaw, the overlay district downtown, the phrase we hear all the time is the walking village. You know, we want to create this walking village, and so I think the emphasis needs to be on showing the walkers where things are, how to get there, as Andrea said, how long it might take, or whatever. And so, again, the signs that you're gonna see as you're driving through, their day is come and gone. I think we need to start, if we're focusing on making Orleans and the downtown that walking village. And I've said for years, you know, you can walk from the Rotary, where, you know, Nauset Sports and the leather shop and, you know, Stop and Shop and the Knack, all the way up to West Road. You're walking, you're going by town parks, access to the water, businesses, restaurants, bike trail, you name it. And you know, we want people walking and biking, and so we need to focus on that and get away from the roads and the cars.
Yep. And just to update people on that, we did get a technical assistance grant from the state for a wayfinding implementation plan, and that is what we're working on right now. And there will be lots of opportunity for public engagement with that as well coming up.
So now we have, as you said in the first slide, the toolkit
Yes.
to support that.
Yep.
Do we have the money to make the signs?
Well, we don't know how much it's going to be.
So it won't be on
One
Springtown.
step at a
meeting.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael?
No, I just wanted to add on about signage, and I was talking with Kim the other day about it. Not just the center of town. I hope you're taking a look at the signage all the way, say, to the beach.
Yeah,
I-
we have included that in the,
And not just our public signs in regards to wayfinding, but also, we're also looking at our speed signs and all of those types of signs. It seems, I don't know, just my opinion, and it's almost that frequency illusion, the Meinhof, like when you see it once, and I shouldn't probably say this because you're all gonna start seeing it now, but I've seen within 150 feet, 3 30-mile-an-hour signs. I mean, it seems like there was no real.
That's the declutter.
Well, there's strategy, and somebody called and said, we need a sign, and we have such accommodating DPW and police that just signs were put up for everything. And when you really drive through this town and count them, it's almost mind-boggling how much signage we have that is just, and they're all valuable, and we all safe, and we all want to make sure, you know, nobody gets hurt, but it seems cluttered to me, and that's
Yeah.
just maybe my opinion, so please, all I'm asking is that you guys look at it. and
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't, you know, I know there are some stipulations and rules, I'm sure, for public safety and roads, and we don't run that road or this or that. But it's just to step back and look sometimes, it seems like a lot of clutter or something.
I would add too, on the same flow and theme, a number of this body voted to place.
Sure,
So,
I'm sure I
Just
probably
saying.
did too,
you
but
know,
well, it'll be interesting, obviously, the consultants they have done this in many, many communities, so it'll be interesting to see when they get here and do their field research if they say, you know, you guys have a lot of speed limit
Yeah,
signs.
Smart your traffic or slow
Yeah,
down or
yeah.
this, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Amanda, great job.
Thank you.
Amanda.
Anyone in the audience or on Zoom might want to comment? Clearly, a lot of work. Yeah, Nick, please, come on up, or come to the front table.
I can move. If you want.
We have private signs that clutter too.
Me too.
So when we are going to clean up East Orleans or the corner of Thompson Road and Main Street, we should look at all that stuff. Because over the years, everybody has set a flag there,
Yeah,
and you can't see beyond.
it's a
This
good
was my-
point. So, Amanda, just a
Lead by
thought.
example.
You know, setting an example, would some private neighborhoods, you know, seeing Elaine nodding, I know her neighborhood, and, you know, Stephanie, folks might like to jump on the bandwagon. It's a great example, and see, that's the whole part of the feel. It gets contagious when you start to move in this direction.
Standard.
Yeah, so,
It looks
good
like-
comment. Stephanie, please.
Just something that we're going to be doing with transportation and bikeways is we're going to be coming in front of you about crosswalks and a new crosswalk policy. I was very excited to see what she was showing for our, I guess it's our logo, with the whole wave pattern, because one of the things we've talked about is there a possibility that your crosswalks might reflect that? In other towns, they'll do a brick look. And I know there's always problems with paint being too slippery in a crosswalk, but this is just, it can be so unique to us.
Exactly.
And yet it can make us feel very villagey in a lot of places where we don't now. I thought it was very exciting.
Yeah, it
Thank
is.
you.
Well, and to that point too, Stephanie and Mark mentioned it, as we've gone around the countries and the world, I can remember visiting Iceland.
Yeah.
And there is a roadway that has this, you know, amazing center roadway crosswalk, and it's actually a play area. You know, kids will be running up and down with their, you know, balls, soccer balls, bikes, but it's designed for fun.
Yeah.
With paint and, you know, but they actually put some thought into that brand, because when you leave that roadway, you know, those remnants of it continue in other ways. So it's a connected, you know, environment that you
Yeah.
remember, and it causes people like me to speak about it.
Yep.
So we'd like them to say that about Orleans when they're talking at their planning board meeting in Iceland. How's that?
right.
So, Amanda,
My
awesome
dream.
job, really. And
Thank
again,
you.
thanks to everybody who contributed. This is definitely a great foundation to move forward with. So, Michael, you're up next on Community Preservation Committee project recommendations. We've got
Yes.
them in our packet. I think just so people wonder why Michael's presenting it, I think the chair of CPC normally comes and does this, but you were asked to, and glad to have you do it.
Yeah, Joan wasn't able to make it, and she asked me to, and I didn't know if she knows Stephanie is here, which is the vice chair of the CPC, so if there's any questions, which I'm sure I won't be able to answer, I'm sure Stephanie can jump in, hopefully, and save me. I think I mentioned this last time, that we would be doing this tonight, and we do it annually. What goes into our warrant are the recommendations that the CPC has voted for this year. The CPC voted unanimously on all of these after many meetings of deliberation, and I think that if anybody wants to get into some of the details, finer details, please, I can give you the meetings the meeting times and dates, but I'm happy to answer as a top level of what their recommendations are. So I can run through this. Mr. Chair, you decide how you want. If people want to jump in and ask questions, just let me know. The difference from what's happened between last year when we voted this and put it in the annual town meeting, we did have a CPC request, I think we all know, from Eldridge Parkway, and in the middle of for the fall, we ended up granting a $3 million ask that went to fall town meeting and was approved. One of the stipulations in that is we were going to, that you'll get to, and the reason I bring it up is because we had decided at the time that we're going to use future funds in future years, being this year, to help draw down on that. So when the ban became, and Mark, correct my language, is when the ban becomes substantially done and we're going to have to actually set the bond, if we've paid down before, the bond will be lowered. So when you see $1 million in here, it's not an additional $1 million we're asking for. It is actually just reducing what we already have authorized at town meeting. So I don't want people to think they see $1 million in here and that we're asking for another million, okay?
We would-
I'll just, sure.
Just to clarify for you there, the idea is to utilize the free cash that has been appropriated in the past, and then to use the $1 million, which would be considered cash, basically. We'd use $1 million that's, would potentially be allocated by town meeting here, and then go into the borrowed funds. So we wouldn't borrow anything until we're ready to, until these funds are expended.
And that came up in terms of CPC, carefully evaluating. So this is no surprise. It's in fact now implementing it. So it's
And I
great.
think what I want to, before I start, I do want to say, between then and now and what that has caused with the town staff and the finance department, a big thank you. They have really delved deep into the CPC, the funding and not cleaning it up that it needed cleaning up, but really organizing it in a way that now, as we continue to move forward, it's a lot more structured and organized so we have a better understanding of what funds may or may not be available to us. So thanks to Mark and the finance team, Darren, and the rest of the team. Community Development Partnership, this is something we have annually given, and that I think you can read of what it's used for housing seminars and things like that. The request for the Affordable Housing Trust, what they wanted to grant this year, last year they granted $400,000, this year they granted $300,000. The historic centers of culture in Orleans, this is the CHO. They have granted $50,000 to help with the systems accessible to the database materials. There was also discussions that this would be it and help them complete what they needed to do. The Academy of Performing Arts, this was a follow-up request to continue their renovations based on what the balance of what they have and what they need to finish the exterior renovations of the Playhouse. The French Cable Museum is something that has been continuously supported, and they're here again. They're granting for restoration and essential signage. Orleans Historical Commission, I think we remember when things came to us with the Form B, they have been really kind of starting to get all of their information online and digital recorded so that it's not just in the files for the future. And I know that's something we had kind of supported, and I know MEF was big into supporting that. So this continues that, and this should be, if I'm not mistaken, Stephanie, this is it. That should complete that portion. And then we have the Northwest Schoolhouse. They needed some additional funds to complete some projects of the kitchen and I believe the tile work, and there was also the alarms and emergency service things. We move on down to the Civil War Monument. This is the one on Monument Road. We've had, as a liaison to the Veterans Committee, I know Kevin has come in, Higgins, and come in and spoken to us about this. It is a very old monument from the 1800s. It is zinc. They don't make many things in zinc anymore. They're not sure of what it's going to cost when they take it down and bring it back to the monument company. This is a very high amount of money, but it includes a lot of contingency. Hopefully the monument isn't as bad as we think, and it will come in actually less than this. One thing to know about the Veterans Committee, when the CPC has granted them money in the past, what they have not used, they have returned. And all our wonderful organizations do return the money if they don't expend it. And I think the committee is being very watchful of that, because it's a real shame to be giving money or allocating money to projects that don't get done in a certain period of time, where that money could have gone to other projects in the interim. Eldridge Park renovation, I think we spoke to this earlier. Again, it's not requesting any additional funding that then has already been granted. It's just reallocation. Orleans Conservation Trust, this was something for their maps and a joint project. We had a lot of discussion with Steve O'Grady, who was wonderful to show up and give us information. I did question, going into the digital age of 25,000 for that, and this is something they haven't requested in 10 years. So the map, they did it in 2015, and it has lasted them. We know we have a lot of people, both digital, and we still have a lot of people that are not as digital, and we need to make sure we service both. So. Also, what's exciting to see is the Cedar Pond purchase put together by the Orleans Conservation Trust. I know this came to the Affordable Housing Trust when I was on it, and there were discussions, and it also came to do a joint thing with Open Space, and it came to the Select Board, and I don't think we were ready there. Thank goodness the Orleans Conservation Trust has jumped in, and the CPC has thinks it's a very worthwhile project to support, and they will hopefully secure that piece of property and have it for public use. And then there is the Putnam Farm Phase 5 growers. This is something where, again, the Herculean effort of the Conservation Commission that has done phases 1 through 4 with very limited, the CPC did at the beginning when they purchased Putnam, did contribute, and I think they did contribute a small amount for irrigation, but they have done most of that work with scraping together funds from different projects, and whether it is town meeting warrants or this or that. And that's why, again, there is going to be maintenance on all of these properties. So their ask was for $90,000. It's not just for Phase 5, as I understand. This is to really finish off the whole Putnam Farm with the fencing and the parking and all of that, and signage. And then the administrative fee of $35,000.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's what they're requesting, and that would go into the warrant.
Thanks. Any questions for Michael? All good? Mark, you good on CPC? One quick question, Michael, and only because I was on CPC a while back. Starting off with all the requests, which usually sometimes double the amount of funds available. How was this year in terms of haircuts needed and?
Oh, yeah, I think it was as
Challenges.
normal. It's always challenging to have to cut things, but then, let's be honest, some people project a little higher, knowing there's going to be a cut, and it's a little bit of a dance doing the budgets, of course. There were some things you might have noticed when the first ones came in. There was a few housing projects in other towns.
I remember that.
That was about $300,000 that the committee decided this year they would not be supporting housing projects in other towns. There was a lot of generosity towards the Fair project on West Road when it first, but I think it was one of the first big projects in the area, and they went to the different CPCs before all towns were kind of up and running on building their own affordable housing. Now that all towns are kind of up and building, it's less sharing of individual CPC towns to other towns. So we just felt for this year, it's time to focus on not doing that. And then there was a couple things, everything goes through our legal team. And with CPC funds, I think people know it's either housing, historic, or open space, and some things didn't qualify. And there was a monument in Veterans Park that, for technical reasons, didn't qualify, so it was withdrawn. And there was also a request for money for a potential shelter project in another town that didn't qualify according to our legal team. So again, thank you for town staff and our legal team for kind of getting this out in front of it. So these were not having decisions made by the committee. These were told that they did not qualify for, so.
Nice job. Yeah, I know, looking at Stephanie, when I was sitting over there were some tough decisions we had to make, and asking people, do you really need all these funds? And really trying to do as best you can to support as many worthwhile projects, but
It's not easy.
it is not. It is
They did also what you see down in the finance, everything's
Right.
there from the projects that were requested. They're able this year to keep a balance of 146,000. While they don't like to take projects out of season or out of turn, there is always the chance that that has happened. But it also gives you the breakdown on the sheet of the amount, the percentage, not necessarily, it doesn't give you the percentage, but it shows you that well over the minimum of 10% is spent on each categories here. And, yeah, so if there's any questions on this, and a big thank you to Jennifer Fontaine, who helps with all of this. And, yeah, just a great committee doing the town a lot of good service.
Good. So this will appear, and we'll vote as a board on place and recommend when we get to the actual draft of the warrant. But check that one off. Michael, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. So next up, we have just one set of minutes
That's
to
right.
approve.
And I-
You know why? Because the
June
June
4th was-
didn't get included in the packet,
Right.
so.
I just have a small edit.
Please, go ahead.
Or at the end of the meeting, depending on which packet you're in, page 36 in our original and page 40 in our updated, where we're going to other committee business and appointing the representatives. When you get down to D and E, Mary Wright from the planning board was omitted in both D and E, where the other board members are called out which board they represent onto the advisory boards they're being appointed to.
Okay,
So just to slip in for D and E,
with that edit.
that she's coming from, she's a planning board representative, not a member of the public.
So that would be the edit to D and E. Mary
Yeah.
Wright
Otherwise,
from
Mr.
Planning
Chair.
Board as wastewater management, Mary Wright from Planning Board as Board and Water Sewer
Yes.
Commission. Okay,
That's it. But, so with those edits, I move that we approve August 28th, 2024 minutes as submitted.
Second?
moved and seconded. We need to do roll call. Mark Matheson, how do you vote?
I, Mark Matheson.
I'm Michael Herman.
Hi, Andrea Reed.
And I, Kevin Galligan. Minutes are approved, 400. Excuse me. Next up, frog in the throat. Select Board Liaison updates. Andrew would like to go.
Not this week.
Michael?
Nothing from me this week.
Mark, I'm going to ask, but I'm assuming nothing?
No,
Okay.
nothing.
If I can talk, I've got one. Already mentioned the chairs meeting we had this morning. Really good dialogue. Amanda had given a quick update on branding. Just another thing on messaging with the Board of Water Sewer Commissioners. Despite the snowpack, they are working hard on drought messaging.
Good.
So
Good.
be mindful that that's coming. Wayfinding came up. The other meeting was today with the Historic Commission. And I just want to put a plug out there and a call for participation. There are 2 open seats on the Historical Commission. Frankly, if you look at their agenda, Mike Solitro was staff liaison there. I mean, they are doing awesome projects. I cannot say enough about the work they're doing, whether it be, the Form B projects Michael mentioned are CPC funded in a continuing year. They have an archaeology project that was funded last year that is really fascinating. They're working on, again, with Amanda. We need more of her. We need more Amandas, because
Yes,
every
we
time
do.
it comes up, Amanda's
Yes,
got
we
more to
do.
do. But
She's a clone.
public education initiatives, so again, just to mention to anyone that might be interested, I mean, this is one meeting a month, opportunities in between meetings to do some breakout and work, but it's a fabulous committee to consider participating. And if you don't want to throw your hat in the ring, just come to a meeting and see how it flows. Get oriented and see if it's a good fit for you. But I know they would welcome some additional assistance. So that's what I've got as far as liaison. And future agenda items. Anyone have future agenda items? Not seeing.
Nothing new.
Right,
I know
we've
we're
got
have
quite a few.
out there, but
Yep.
yeah, so I don't want to load any more on, but I know we will discuss and
Yep.
address some of the previous ones.
So with that said, we do need a motion to go into executive session, and for folks that are here, we'll be coming out only for purposes of adjournment, so we will have to become public, but all we're going to be doing is adjourning. So we need a motion?
Well, I don't have the language that would rationalize the executive session.
I think you could read what's on the agenda.
Great.
So
then
say
that's right. Duh,
pursuant
hello.
to-
Mr. Chair, I move that we go into executive session for purpose 1 pursuant to MGL 30A21A1 to discuss open meeting law complaints brought against this board by Jerusha Maccabee, where discussion in open session may adversely affect the individual's reputation or rights.
Moved and
Seconded.
seconded. So all in favor by roll call to go into executive session? Mark?
I, Mark Matheson.
I'm Michael Herman.
I, Andrea Reed.
And I, Kevin Galligan, 400. We have nothing to report, and our last item on business is to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I move that at 6:41, we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of adjourning? Mark Matheson?
I, Mark Matheson.
I'm Michael Herman.
I, Andrea Reed.
And I, Kevin Galligan. We are adjourned. Thank you.